Yom Kippurim is the most important fast day of the whole year. The second most important fast day is Tisha B'Av. Right? Yom Kippurim is the only fast that we have a Torah mitzvah to observe. Yom Kippurim is mentioned explicitly in the Torah. V'initem et nafshodechem. You should afflict your souls. I love that word in English. Afflict your souls. It sounds like we should go beating each other up, cutting our faces up. I know what we're supposed to do. Yeah.
So is Tammuz the next important fast after those two?
So after that, Tammuz falls into what's called the 4 fast days. They have an allusion in the text of the prophets, but they are rabbinic in nature, so we're more lenient about them. That's why we start in the morning, all kinds of things that we do regarding those fasts. So yeah, technically yes, but it comes along with the other 4 fast days. The Torah actually tells us that you're supposed to fast. I have a cold, by the way, so forgive me if I stop, I blow my nose. But Isha Chodesh Ba'erev, you should start fasting on the 9th day, on the eve of Yom Kippurim. Meaning, when is Yom Kippurim? What day of Tishrei? The 10th. So the 9th day would be Friday.
So you have to start it before the sun goes down.
Well, our rabbis understand from here that Yom Kippurim is 2 days long.
Right, used to be considered 2 days.
It used to be Friday and Shabbat when we fast. Not really though, but human beings can't fast 2 days in a row. And therefore, HaKadosh Baruch Hu tells us that we have a mitzvah, just like we have a mitzvah to fast on the 10th day of the month, we have a mitzvah to eat on the 9th day of the month. Because through our eating, we're preparing ourselves for the next day of fasting, and that eating is considered as if we fasted. Where else do you find that a person who eats is considered as if he fasted? Where else? And this idea of I'm eating, so it's like I'm fasting. That sounds silly, right? But
people who can't fast.
Someone who is not allowed to fast. For example, if they fast, they will be in danger of their life, right? I have an answer to you, by the way, for later. That whole idea is that a person who's in such a dangerous situation, if they would fast, they're actually they put themselves in danger. It's as if they didn't fast. And someone who would be eating on Yom Kippurim in such a situation, even though he's eating on Yom Kippurim, would be considered as if they fasted. So same thing here. On the 9th day of the month, we have an idea that we eat, and that's considered as if we fasted. The Kabbalists are super strict over here. The Mekubalim tell us that, so if you have to eat on the 9th day for the 10th day, and you're supposed to fast on both the 9th day and the 10th day, so really you shouldn't eat just enough to satisfy the 9th day, but you should eat for both the 9th day and the 10th day. You should eat twice as much. This is one of those chumrot you don't have to keep. Okay? Suggesting. You don't have to do it.
Most people can't do that.
I actually think most people can, but they shouldn't. I used to go for, someone was took me to lunch for a pizza. He ordered a whole pie for himself.
Well, some people have different capacities for food, but if he ate twice as much pizza as his normal capacity,
very interesting. So would he eat 2 pies of pizza?
Because everyone has a different capacity.
It could be that if he got 2 boxes, he would have.
If you eat twice what you're accustomed to, it puts a strain on the body. It can make it more difficult to fast.
Right. So, there's another thing. You're allowed to eat on the 9th day. You must eat on the 9th day, but you're not allowed to eat anything that will make it difficult for you to fast on the 10th day of the month, on real Yom Kippurim. I get this question every year. There are special pills that are 100% natural. They are just a bunch of herbs that are meant to help a person fast on the 10th day of the month. They're called Som Kal, easy fast. What it is a slow release into your body over the next day. It releases certain vitamins into your body to supposedly help you be able to fast. It's an Israeli invention. Of course. The question is asked, can I take such a pill on the 9th day, knowing that it's going to release nutrients into my blood supply or wherever else it is on the 10th day? What do you think?
I think yes.
Well,
you can eat and know that this food will be digesting your...
It's not
that's
exactly
right.
afflicting yourself.
If you're eating the food...
But David's arguing with you.
If it's less than an olive size, then I guess it's okay.
Interesting. But you two are arguing with each other. He's right. Barry is right, by the way. Yom Kippurim, according to the Torah, you're only allowed to not. I mean, you're only prohibited from eating more than the size of an olive. But if you were to eat less than that size, you would actually not be violating a biblical prohibition, but rather only a rabbinic prohibition. And that's why when someone's sick and we need to let them eat, we ask them to eat small amounts of food. That way they're violating only a rabbinic prohibition and not a... Actually, I'm not sure that it's a kazayit as much as the size of a date, which is like 2/3 of an egg. But those are all just
The Torah
details.
says nothing about metabolizing something that's already in your bloodstream. It only speaks about what you're putting in your mouth.
Well, Moshe Chaim has a good point. David is saying you're not really afflicting your soul if you're having something that's releasing into your body. But in that case, you shouldn't be allowed to eat on it. Moshe Chaim is saying, I'm eating it every Yom Kippur. I'm drinking now, knowing that it's going to have effects into the fast day.
But
So-
everybody does that. You drink a lot before the fast starts.
At least 4 or 5 hours it will be digesting on your...
So, Mistama, Moshe Chaim is right.
We're talking
And,
about affliction.
and according to Chacham Ovadia, you are allowed to take such a pill on the 9th day of Tishrei, meaning Erev Yom Kippurim. Regarding afflicting, this translation is not a good word. Because you're not supposed to afflict yourself aside from the 5 ways that our rabbis let us know. What are those 5 things? What are the 5 things you're not allowed to do in Yom Kippur?
Bathing. Not bathing.
Okay, bathing is under the category of Rechitza. So we have marital relations. Yom Kippurim, we're going to talk about all the details of these soon. Also not allowed to eat.
Wear leather.
Yeah, you can eat.
Leather.
You can't drink.
With leather.
You can't wear leather shoes. Aside from these things, there's no other affliction that you're supposed to be doing to yourself. So it could be that once you prove that the rabbis would have allowed you to eat on the 9th day of the month, meaning they like you were saying a nice thing. It's not that you can't have food in your body; you just can't be eating it on the 10th day. So once you determine that to be fact, so you can take whatever you want on the 9th day of the month to make sure that on the 10th you'll have an easier fast. By the way, I don't know that I suggest practically. I don't know medically from a standpoint to drink so much water because actually it comes out
Right.
right away. And it's probably better to drink a normal amount of water as opposed to a very high amount of water because probably you're going to lose all your liquids if you do that. I don't know if I'm right, but that's my assumption.
The caffeinated drinks, sugary drinks, things
Right.
like that, coffee,
Right.
not such a good idea.
Some people say watermelon is good to eat on a fast, air fast. Some say potatoes, things with carbohydrates, starches. Okay, everyone should know what's good for their body. Certain things that rabbis don't suggest to eat.
And even with affliction, you're not supposed to endanger your health. So we have to really define, what's the Hebrew term again for affliction?
Initem. No, it literally means to afflict or torture or pain. Inui. But our rabbis give us 5 guidelines of things you're not allowed to do. More than that, you don't have to do. It's interesting to know what do the Karaites do on Yom Kippurim. But they must have a different interpretation of affliction. Who knows? Someone can look it up first.
Time Warner's down.
Everybody who has a mitzvah to fast on the 10th day of the month has a mitzvah to eat on the 9th day of the month. Let's talk about a very old minhag, a custom. We like customs, right? Good. Moshe Chaim got an answer for you. I'll tell you a question. He doesn't know what I'm talking about yet, but I'll tell you. There's a minhag of kaparot. Kaparot means that we take a chicken. Why a chicken? I'll get an answer for you in a second. We take a chicken and we wave it over our heads 3 times. This is my, I'm transferring my sins to him. He should go to death and I should go to life and da 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 da. This minhag, says Maran, Rabbi Yosef Kairon, the Shulchan Aruch, is an idolatrous custom. It does not have a source in Jewish texts, and it says one is not allowed to do this custom. It's forbidden to perform kaparot
What
on a
is
chicken.
the source of it? Do you know?
Maran says from the Emorim, from the Amorites, not like Emory University, but Emory, like the people of. I don't know how you say it in English where they come from, but okay. So, what? Rambam is of this opinion. Okay, Maran. Almost always, Maran and the Rambam agree with each other. You should know. Maran almost always follows the Rambam. Ramban doesn't like this custom at all. Ramban goes to town on this custom. Maran just writes a simple sentence about it.
So What does Ramah say?
The Ramah, here we go. The Ramah says that this minhag is a minhag vatikin, is a very ancient custom.
Yeah, for the pagans.
And the Ramah proves that there are geonim, people before the Ramban, and people before the Shulchan Aruch who bring this down as an ancient Jewish custom. The Arizal writes that this custom has sources in Kabbalistic literature. And therefore, the Ramah says not only can you do it, but you must do it, because this is an ancient Jewish custom. Those who hold you cannot do kaparot, because it's a pagan custom, only refer to kaparot on chickens, not kaparot on other things. The Maran doesn't argue with the idea of kaparot. He argues with the idea of kaparot on chickens. That seems to have been a pagan custom at some point in time, but the Rama argues and says it's a Jewish custom that the pagans took from us. So, to make a long story short, the minhag of both the Ashkenazim and the Sfaradim, in almost all the countries they were, was to do kaparot, regardless of what Maran wrote. This is a classic case of where Sfaradim do not follow Maran. Because Maran writes in the beginning of his book, the Bet Yosef, that he only came to give halachot in a place where there were no customs. But someone who has a custom that precedes him, and it's a legitimate custom, should continue in their customs. This is the Sephardic rationale behind doing kaparot.
So Balei can do just Maran because it's made for the people who don't have.
Okay. Additionally, there is an ancient Sephardic dispute. Yeah? You ready for this one? You think it's always the Sfaradim and the Ashkenazim fighting? Sometimes it's Sfaradim and the Sfaradim fighting, right? The Sfaradim have two very interesting camps inside of us. We have our diehard halachists, call them the halachic Sfaradim, and then you have our diehard mystics, the Kabbalistic Sfaradim. And both of these camps have always got along with each other, but have always been fighting with each other. And one of their big fights has been, so how far do we take Kabbalah? Some Sfaradim say, Kabbalah, that's it. That's all that counts. Maran, okay, he's secondary to Kabbalah. Some Sfaradim say, no, Maran is more important than anything that comes from Kabbalah, because he was a Kabbalist himself, and if he didn't say it, then he knows what he's talking about. Here's the thing. What happens when the Arizal, Rabbi Yitzchak Luria, he argues with Maran? So Rabbi Yitzchak Luria lived in the time of Maran. He was a relative of Maran. They were married into each other's families. But he lived a little bit after Maran, from what I understand. The Ari Kadosh is also considered by Sfaradim to be like, whoa, we don't touch this man. So, what happens when Maran and the Arizal argue with each other? Who do you follow? Along
200 rabbis.
Yeah, because the majority.
Along comes rabbis like the Ben Ish Chai. He's not the first one, but the famous one.
The rectifier.
It says, Maran and Arizal, you follow the Arizal. Not because you follow the Arizal over Maran, but because if only Maran would have seen the words of the Arizal, he would take back his opinion. You like this rule? It's slightly presumptuous. What do you mean he's going to take? How do you know he's going to take it back? Who says?
Well, the idea is that the Kabbalists had a broader perspective than just the halachists.
And probably the Maran was a very high respect towards the Arizal. And if he would have seen the writings of the Arizal, would have taken back his opinion. This is the opinion of the Ben Ish Chai. This is the opinion of Rabbi Mordechai Eliyahu. This is the opinion of all those Sephardic Jews that follow in that approach. And it's true. There are many places where we do things against Maran. Because the Arizal said to do it. Should I give you an example? After Tefillah, we say Baruch Hu Hashem Avorach, right? At the end of Tefillah. Sfaradim and Ashkenazim.
Ashkenazim also do.
In Israel. Ashkenazim outside of Israel are counterfeits. Outside of Israel, Tabriut. The Ashkenazim don't say Baruch Hu because, okay, whatever. There are two different groups of Ashkenazim, you should know. The Jews of Israel and those outside of Israel. There's a special Sidur, Nusach Ashkenaz for Jews in Israel, Nusach Ashkenaz for Jews outside of Israel. If you come with your art scroll to an Ashkenazi minyan in Israel, you won't know where to find yourself.
I thought Sephardim held according to Rav Chaim Vital, how he held, and that Azim Kabbalists are descended from the Arizal, and Sephardic Kabbalists, or for those who follow Kabbalah, go from Rav Chaim Vital.
I don't know that that's exactly the way it works.
I was always told that way.
It would be more that when we come to interpreting the Arizal, we'll take Rabbi Chaim Vital's word, because he was a student, over anybody else who came to interpret.
But apparently he tied his tzitzit differently than the Arizal.
Right.
And
Because he knew the way that Arizal really thought. It's an interesting discussion. So, regarding the Ashkenazim in Israel. The Ashkenazim in Israel follow Maran. Maran writes in Shulchan Aruch that you say Baruch Hu at the end of Tefillah only when you don't read the Torah. But in the days where you read the Torah, because you already added so many Baruch Hu Hashem Avarachs when people get Aliyot, so there's no reason to say Baruch Hu at the end of Tefillah. So Ashkenazim have a custom in Israel, they say Baruch Hu at the end of the Tefillah, except for days where they read the Torah. Sfaradim argue with Maran, because the Arizal says, no, there's another reason why we say Baruch Hu, has nothing to do with reading the Torah, it's a special thing that has to do with the worlds at the end of the Tefillah, and because of that the Sfaradim say Baruch Hu Hashem Avarach, even though Maran says you don't have to. Now this is very different than Maran saying you're not allowed to. This is a case where Maran says you don't have to, and Arizal says you must. So okay, so it's not, Maran wouldn't be against it, he just would say there's no reason for it. So it's slightly different than Kapparot. There's one other place.
what year was the Moran living?
In the 1400s.
But already, wasn't Kabbalah revealed by then?
Yeah, but not as processed as it is today.
Oh, I got you.
And that Rizal was the codifier, so to speak,
So
and he was still writing.
Did the Moran know Nishta?
Yeah, sure, of course. But he didn't learn by that Rizal. Maran tried to learn by that Rizal, but he kept falling asleep in that Rizal's classes. It's a true story. Written by the writings of, he kept falling asleep. So that Rizal came and told him, I would love for you to learn Kabbalah, but your neshama is not supposed to learn my kind of Kabbalah. Your neshama is supposed to learn Kabbalah from the Ramak, from Rabbi Moshe Cordovero. So Maran was a student in Kabbalah of the Ramak. Even though Maran was maybe 40 years senior of the Arizal, he really wanted to study from the Arizal. So that's why Maran could be that he lived in the Arizal's times and wasn't familiar with all of the Arizal's teachings. Even though he was a Mekubal. I hope I'm not getting us too sidetracked here. We have a bracha in the morning. Ladies say, Asher, Shelo Asani, we say Shelo Asani Isha. They say, Shasani Kirtzono, you created me according to your will. This bracha has no precedent in halakha. It's not mentioned anywhere. Not of the Gemara, not of the Mishnah, not of the Rishonim. And therefore, Maran writes, you're not allowed to say this bracha. Because we don't say brachot that our rabbis didn't make.
What does Spartan say? Women?
So everyone says, all the ladies say, Shasani Kirtzono. Maran says, you don't make this bracha. The Arizal says, you do make this bracha, because there's a reason according to Kabbalah why you say this bracha. And therefore Ashkenazim follow the Arizal and they say this bracha with Hashem's name. And Sfaradim say this bracha without Hashem's name. Baruch Shasani Kirtzano. Without saying Hashem's name, because when you're in doubt as to whether you make a bracha or not.
Is that in the Siddur?
Yeah. So, the Ben Ish Chai wants to see, we follow the Arizal even against Maran. Chamavazi says, no, don't be so sure, we don't say Hashem's name. So it's not that we're actually following the Arizal.
So if you don't say it with Hashem's name, what does it come out to be?
There are many brachas we say without Hashem's name.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Come back to this one. So it's what?
The Gemara says, if you say bracha without Hashem's name, it doesn't count as a bracha.
I never noticed that before. I never say it. Yeah.
When I was at the Rav Peretz, and I asked my wife, we just got married, it was Sheva Brachot, we came to sit with the Rav Peretz, and my wife asked Rav Peretz, which siddur should I use? I said, any Sephardic siddur. And he said, okay, any specific things about it? He said, yeah, the only thing, don't make Shasani Kirtzono at all. We follow Maran. Don't say that blessing at all. We follow Maran. Okay, interesting. But, to make a long story short, the whole minhag of Kapparot, it's iffy. What's worse is that even according to those who say you must do kaparot to the chicken, they hold you're only allowed to do kaparot to the chicken in a situation where you know the chicken is a kosher animal, meaning you know that its bones are not broken, its wings are intact, its legs are intact, the nerves haven't been ripped or whatever else. You have to make sure that the animal is not suffering just for no good reason because you wanted to do kaparot and 1,000 other people wanted to do kaparot also. You also have to make sure the shochet, the one who's doing shchita, is the one who really knows the laws of shchita, and isn't going to use your chicken to serve poor people who are then going to be eating non-kosher food. Our poskim say that if any one of these details are missing, it's better not to do kaparot on a chicken. And rather, it's better to do kaparot on money, the amount of a chicken. I estimate around $18. That's a good number to give per person for who's doing kaparot. Now, in our world of today, the way people are doing kaparot, at least so far, the way I've seen them, you shouldn't do kaparot to the chicken. The animals are stacked up on top of each other. They're living in the feces of the other animals. Their bones, I don't know if they're broken, but they're, you give it to every Joe Schmo to swing around their head. Somewhere along the line, something's going to happen. The chicken's going to make it not kosher. Better just avoid it. Avoid it. You don't know who the shochet is. I used to... Okay, when I was somewhere, the guy who was shechting the chickens wasn't even a shochet. Wasn't even a shochet. So what if he's a rabbi? He's not a shochet. I'm a rabbi. I don't do divorce proceedings because I don't have that kind of smicha. I'm not that. So what? I wouldn't just do it because I feel like it. But you have to make sure that a person who's doing shchita is a HaShamayim. So I suggest that everyone does kaparot on money, unless you're able to get your own chicken and arrange for your own shochet and everything else. So let's ask Moshe Chaim's question. Why a chicken? Why a chicken? What's the point of a chicken?
The way you represent it, I'm passing my sins, that's exactly what we did in Beit HaMikdash. We were putting our hands on the animal and, say our sins and then shove them.
And then you eat it. Eat your sins back.
So now we do exactly with the chicken, which is not permissible for the...
My understanding of the poskim is we specifically do it on an animal, a chicken, that you cannot bring to the temple. The reason being that we don't do sacrifices without a temple. Therefore, nobody should assume that we're doing kaparot on a cow because that you can bring to the Beit HaMikdash. A chicken you can't bring to the Beit HaMikdash. Therefore, we're trying to show that we don't do korbanot outside of the Beit HaMikdash. It's for this reason. What happens if you don't have a chicken? What are you supposed to use? According to those who say you use chickens?
Fish.
Fish?
Turkey.
For kaparot?
A duck. Because a duck you can't bring either. What if you don't have a duck? You should do a fish. Any live animal that you would not use in the Beit HaMikdash, specifically to show that you're not bringing a korban. This is symbolic.
Live fish, that'd be a little hard to hold.
By the way, someone sent me a picture yesterday. It said kaparot for vegans. It had a lettuce, a head of lettuce, and they were doing with maybe the bugs inside of the lettuce count. But aside from that, I would suggest using money. We're going to be doing that, God willing, on Friday morning at 8 o'clock. Hatarat Nedarim, followed by kaparot.
It doesn't go back to the copper.
You can order your chicken now.
They're freaked out chickens. Sweating, really. upset.
Erev Yom Kippurim. The custom is to go ask people for forgiveness. Why?
Because Yom Kippur absolves averot between Hashem and human beings, but not between human beings and human beings.
No matter how much you pray to Hashem, He cannot forgive you for somebody else. He can only forgive you for what you did to Him. And therefore we have a custom to go ask whoever we can forgiveness. I remember in yeshiva guys would walk around with like signs. Or they would put up a sign on the door saying, "Please forgive me, I am da-da-da, the son of da-da-da," Better to go and ask somebody. A lot of times problems that exist throughout the year, Yom Kippurim, there's like a special feeling in there. People are more willing to say, "I'm sorry." They're more willing to forgive. It's a good time to make up with people. Specifically family members. parents and their children should both, each direction. You should teach your children that they should ask you forgiveness on Yom Kippur. And you should ask your children for forgiveness on Yom Kippur. Siblings, friends, the guy you always shush at shul, whoever it is. Make sure you go and ask them forgiveness on Yom Kippur. Tefillah.
This forgiveness is before Yom Kippur starts or after? During Yom Kippur?
Before.
Before.
If you can't, then during, but before. There's no bad time to do tshuva. Tefillah, going to the mikvah on Erev Yom Kippurim, we spoke about this already before Rosh Hashanah. Please, we shouldn't go to a mikvah with a bunch of other people, so if you can't arrange for a private time to go to the mikvah, go privately to a swimming pool, go privately to the beach where there are no ladies. It doesn't help if you go to the beach where there are ladies, it doesn't help you at all. That's only another averah. If you cannot do that, you're able, like we said, to go into the shower for 2.5 minutes, 3 minutes, whatever it is that Rav Yosef says would work. According to KSH Kollel, somebody who cannot even take a shower on Erev Yom Kippurim can wash their hands. I'm going to read this to you because I don't know it by heart. You should pour water from a cup on your right hand, then on your left hand, then on your right hand, then on your left hand, till you do that 10 times. Yeah? On each hand. Then you take 10 times, you pour it on your right hand, straight, just 1, 2, 3. Then 10 times on your left hand. The number of that, 10, 10, 10, 10, comes out to 40. 40 is the amount of water that's supposed to be inside of a mikveh, and he says that would work in a case where a person does not have a shower. My father told me when he was in yeshiva, there was a guy that every time he washed for bread, he would wash like this. He wanted to show everybody how holy he was. And he would try to make all the rabbis and pray, oh, look how holy I am, I wash my hands 40 times for bread. And then my father said we went to the army, so this guy was the one who was eating pig on Yom Kippur, because he wanted to impress his, not religious commanders that he doesn't even keep Yom Kippur. And you have such people, ignore them, right? Maybe he washes for the pig, who knows? But this is one of those minhagim. If you cannot go to the shower, then you can at least do that. If you cannot make it to the shower, please also don't come to shul. I'm just kidding. If you really can't go to the shower, so come to shul, just sit in the back. You know that you're not supposed to say no to a person who comes to ask you forgiveness. It's considered cruel. Someone asks you forgiveness, they put themselves out there. It's a genuine ask for forgiveness. 3 times a person can ask you, and then the 3rd time it becomes your avera. Because you're a cruel person to them for not forgiving them. There's a famous halacha. Someone asks you 3 times, so then it becomes your avera. So I know people, they go over, do you forgive me? No. Do you forgive me? No. Do you forgive me? Ah, it's your problem. Okay? That's not how it works. 3 times means over a significant amount of time. If it didn't work this year, I'll ask them next year. Not next year, the year afterwards. Or a few months or a few days. Everything depending on how bad that was. People never teach you the right things though. They don't tell you the times where you don't have to forgive somebody. There are times where you don't have to forgive a person that asks you. For example, one is if a person says Lashon Hara about you.
What?
A person says Lashon Hara about you. They make up, not Lashon Hara, especially Motzi Shem Hara. They make up rumors about you. They spread it around town. Now they come to ask you forgiveness. Not you, Chalil, somebody else. They come to ask you forgiveness. Part of that forgiveness process is rectifying the damage done, not just asking me forgiveness. Unless you're willing to go to all those people you spoke to and vouch that I didn't do what it is that you said I did, you don't have an obligation to forgive that person. Because they have not finished their tshuva process. Can you forgive them? Yeah, if you feel that that's something you need to do. But you don't have to. You can't be bullied into forgiving them just because they're Yom Kippurim. The same thing is true if someone does some kind of damage to you. If you forgive them, it'll be harmful to you. Somebody who's abusive and comes and asks a person, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't. But he's an abusive person. You don't have to make up with them. Keep your distance from such a person. A person has to be smart. You don't have to be extra pious in places where it would hurt you to be pious. The third thing, and this is one that I don't recommend. The third heter, probably more towards rabbis than towards your average person. If a person were to come and ask forgiveness, and the rabbi feels that by saying no, it'll make the person feel bad enough that they won't repeat their transgression. For example, I was once in a yeshiva where a guy took a chair and threw it at the Rosh Yeshiva. So if someone were to come to the Rosh Yeshiva, I'm sorry they threw the chair at you. Once, twice, 3 times. It could be the Rosh Yeshiva the 3rd time because he says, I don't forgive you. I don't forgive you. Even though in his heart he should forgive him, but practically, if he thinks that he would be successful and by being so unforgiving, this person wouldn't repeat it again. There are repeat offenders. There are people who do this a lot. And so if you forgive them, you're just enabling them to do it again. If a person is able to do this calculation and say, I'll forgive them in my heart, but I won't let them know about it, because it's going to help them not to know about it, this can also be between parents and children. Certain things you just say, no, sorry, you really did something wrong. A person has to do this wisely, though. Not every person should be taking, advantage of this wild card. But there are situations where educationally, it's a good thing to not forgive somebody.
So when you say no, do you have to give some kind of, understanding of what you're thinking to the person so that he doesn't think it's a personal slight, like, you just...
Could be. It all depends on what you think would work. What would be the most efficient? What would do the best? What have the best effect on that person? If telling them would have a better effect, sometimes not telling them, it would have a better effect. You have to know for yourself. Yeah, we're all here. Baruch Hashem. There's a machloket, always. Sfaradim and Ashkenazim. Are you allowed to make cholent? Not necessarily cholent. Some kind of food, stew. On the Erev Yom Kippur. You don't have microwaves once upon a time, or ovens, or whatever else it is. So you can't cook food on Motzei Yom Kippur. It's going to take a while till you get to eat. Can you put up a pot of cholent, let's say, on Erev Yom Kippur? To eat it, not on Yom Kippur, obviously, but on... After the fast.
Interesting.
Can you do that or not?
You mean have it cooked during Yom Kippur?
During Yom Kippur, but you're not going to eat it on Yom Kippur. It's like a Motzei Shabbat cholent, imagine.
You allowed to eat Motzei Shabbat cholent that you cooked all Shabbat and then they eat after?
According to the Sfaradim, you're allowed to.
Interesting.
Because this is called cooking for a weekday to a weekday. You're not cooking for Yom Kippur. You're cooking over Yom Kippur, but for after Yom Kippur.
Really?
According to the Ashkenazim, you're not allowed to.
Because I know in Chabad, with hot water, they tell you if you have a hot water thing, you have to make new hot water after Shabbat. The water is for Shabbat. This one Chabad rabbi once said.
Okay.
I never hold by it, but...
He's allowed to have an opinion.
But where is it?
He's allowed to have an opinion.
I understand that, but...
Ashkenazim have a custom which says, even though you're cooking for after the fast, that's even worse. You're cooking for a weekday on Yom Kippur. You're not cooking, it's Shabbat, you're cooking on Shabbat for Shabbat. But Motzei Shabbat, you're using the fast day to cook. No, you can't do it.
So what does that hold for Shabbat too then? Like if you wanted to make a pot of something and then only eat it after Shabbat?
Yeah, you're not supposed to cook during
You're not
Shabbat.
allowed to do that?
Only if you eat it on
Yeah.
Shabbat.
According to the Ashkenazim.
According to Ashkenazim.
Now, the Ashkenazim also say, Mechazei Kerav Tanut. It looks a little bit gluttonous to already be cooking on Erev Yom Kippur, the whole Yom Kippur for after Yom Kippur. Just eat something cold, or eat something simple. It's an interesting thing. It's a custom. According to Ashkenazim, if you would have already done it, or if a Sfaradi person did it and you're eating in his house, you would be allowed to eat that food. Practically, I don't know that anybody does this anymore. Just thought it would have halakha. That's interesting to think about. It has ramifications elsewhere. Lighting candles, Erev Yom Kippur. The halachot of like not eating and drinking, you guys know them, so I'm just trying to go through halachot that we don't always talk about. Lighting candles. Do you light candles on Erev Yom Kippur?
Mm-hmm. No? Yes?
You're lighting on the Shabbat?
Oh, so here it's a Shabbat, it's a Yom Kippur. Let's ignore the fact that it falls on Shabbat. That's a good point. Let's put it aside. Just a normal Yom Kippur. Falls out on Wednesday. I don't know, whatever.
Yes, you like candles.
Why not?
Well, I mean, isn't that the custom?
First, the custom. Let's talk about the halakha. There are certain places where rabbis instituted you light candles. Erev Yom Kippur was not one of them. The Yerushalmi mentions there is a custom to light candles in Erev Yom Kippur, and people who live in such a place should do it. Okay, so now you have two customs. Those who light candles, Erev Yom Kippur, those who don't. Even according to those who hold that you do light candles on Erev Yom Kippur, would you make a bracha on those candles? Hashem commanded us to light these candles.
It's not a mitzvah then, right?
Is there any chag that you don't light candles?
According to the Rambam, no chag you light candles. Only for Shabbat.
And then we do with the Shabbat.
The Yemenites do that. Maran holds not like that. In the custom of the world, we light candles for every holiday. But Yom Kippurim, some say you don't make a bracha on this candle. Because even though you light it, it's just a minhag. The Rambam says you wouldn't make a bracha on this candle. Some say you would. Some people say that if you don't have the custom, just keep the custom of not lighting. Some say you live in a place where they do light candles, you must light candles regardless of what it is that your personal custom is. All of these are interesting customs. Do whatever it is that you always did until now. Probably light candles with a bracha. Probably.
So in the neighborhood where other people mostly light the candles, it would probably be Marat Ayin, not to people walk by and say, oh,
Right.
see, they didn't light candles.
But again, you have to be careful about all the things I always tell people to be careful about. You cannot light candles with a bracha in a room where there already is electric light. No, everyone argues with me in this halakha. Everyone argues with me. Oh, our rabbi doesn't say that. Your rabbi doesn't say that. The whole world doesn't say that. Everybody doesn't. None of those are good complaints. The whole reason we light candles on Shabbat is to give light. Huh? See, that's a genius
But
thing.
what about this? You're not
So,
supposed to get
I
any
mean, it's just
benefit
extra
from
light. I mean,
Yeah.
why? What's? It doesn't. You mean if there's a light in the room that's on, you can't light candles in that room?
You can, just can't make a bracha. Because you already lit light into the room. Let's backtrack.
So what about this? So you're not allowed to get benefit from the Shabbat lights.
That's,
You are.
there's sun coming.
Only
in.
the Hanukkah lights you can't get
There's
benefit
no
Oh,
light.
I'm sorry.
Shabbat lights you have to get benefit from. You have to light them in a place where they're going to be useful.
But if you
When
put
you light
it,
candles in a room that doesn't have an electric light on, there's sun coming in the room still.
Yeah, but when the sun goes down,
I know, but there's okay.
when the sun goes down, the candles are going to be lit and the sun is going to be off.
so with a candle you
When the sun goes down, that light is still going to be on. Why did you light that light?
so what candle you light in your bedroom or in your bathroom is considered
To light in the room.
Not a
So then you already lit. What happens if you light Shabbat candles? You forgot to make the bracha. Did you get a mitzvah?
Yeah.
But what about the
Okay.
energy aspect of the light versus just the electric light? And
Meaning Kabbalistically.
yeah,
Absolutely. David's bringing up a good point. According to Kabbalah, there is an idea behind candles and lights and fire. That's all wonderful. But like we said before, Kabbalah is enough to warrant lighting candles in the room, but not enough to warrant making a blessing on those candles. You could, yeah, according to the Kabbalah, you would have to light candles in that room, but not enough to make a blessing on it.
But is then a candle you light in your bedroom considered a Shabbat candle then? Let's say you
have
put it
to
in
go
another
find
room.
a place that's dark to light candles.
Someone answer this question for Zev. According to Halakha, where are you supposed to light candles?
In the public.
No, that's Hanukkah again.
Where?
No.
Where you
Where it's dark. Meaning, everywhere in the house you have to light candles. How many candles do you light on Erev Shabbat? As many rooms as you have in your house. As many hallways
two.
as you have in your house. Oh, that depends. Two is already a
ask you if
custom.
you do that? No,
Oh, so let me ask you, why don't we do that today?
because we have electric light.
Because we leave electric lights on
Yeah.
already in those places.
Right.
So continue your logic. If that's why you don't light candles, my wife's grandfather lit candles in every room in his house.
So it is for the benefit of
Everybody
safety.
used to do that, not
So
just
people
him.
didn't fall over. And
It's to make sure there's light in the whole house.
let's
So going on that logic, in a room, your dining room now has light. Why would you light candles there?
Right.
So you have to have a different perspective as pre-electric to really understand it.
Again, I agree with everybody's feelings and customs, but you are refusing to adapt halakha to a world where we now have electricity. You cannot be.
It's so interesting.
You have to think about reality this way.
Right.
So if you're in a dark room and you light the candles, you say the bracha.
Bracha. But if the lights are on,
Lights on, you light the candles, you don't say bracha.
right?
But then if you just have electric light, then why light the candles? Just say the
Oh!
bracha.
See, welcome to our kollel, by the way. Baruch Hashem. Everyone know David. He's a good friend of ours.
Why don't you say a bracha over the electric light?
Oh, well, let's do this now together. Beautiful.
Electric menorahs.
I love when I teach this to ladies, they get so angry at me. Like the anger level of the room goes higher and higher and higher. By the end, they're like, "We're never coming back to this guy's classes again. He just destroyed the only mitzvah we have in the whole Torah." Right? So like this.
Poor ladies.
We teach ladies, by the way, the only thing they need to do their whole life is light candles. So you take that away from them, suddenly their life has no meaning or purpose to it.
Light up the world.
What do you do if you're in a place, such as with your wife in the hospital when she's giving birth? Not the person shouldn't be in the hospital because they're sick. For a good thing. And you cannot light candles inside of us. You can't do it. I know people do it, and every time they make Kehillat, you're not allowed to light fire in the hospital. You're endangering people's lives. What do you do in such a place? Or you're in a hotel room,
Hotel.
and the hotel has a policy against lighting fires in your room.
Yeah.
Do not
Smoke
be
detector
smart
goes
and put
off.
on fire. People do this all the time. It's not allowed. What do you do? Says Chacham Avadia, I don't understand the question.
You buy the battery lights.
Oh, someone wanted to tell me that. But tell me something about the battery lights. If all the lights were off and those two little things were on, would it give enough light to light up the room? No, I don't think you should use those. If you had two real light bulbs, yes, that would be good. Chacham Avadia says, I don't understand the question. Turn off the lights, make a bracha, turn on the lights.
Well, you're turning on the lights during Shabbat.
See, there's so many things we have to answer here. It's worth it. It's worth that we should do this because you have to know all these other. You all
You
most of you
just
have
leave
wives.
something like this on in your room?
Could be your phone is going to die, but could be.
Or you plug it in.
It might overheat. I don't know. I don't know how it works. I don't know how iPhones go. I don't want somebody to do their iPhone and then their $800 Shabbat candle died. You might need two iPhones if you want to light two candles. So let's start take it from the top. Take it from the top. Two halachot you have to know. The one is about when you make the bracha. I'm afraid he's going to jump on me. I don't know what's happening over here.
No, I mean, I know what you're going to say.
This is-
You say it before the candles.
Shulchan Aruch says you make a blessing before you light the candles.
Right.
Along comes a rabbi called the Bahag. The Baal Halachot Gedolot. Big Rishon. He says, you're right, I agree. But there are some ladies who think, not who know, who think, that when you say the bracha, you are accepting Shabbat upon yourself. And when you accept Shabbat upon yourself, you are no longer allowed to light candles. And therefore, what they did was first they lit the candles, then they covered their eyes as if the candles don't exist. And then they make the bracha, then they uncover their eyes, and ooh, it's like I lit the candles right now. Somehow this custom of some ladies who did something not in accordance to halakha became the world's predominant custom of how to light candles. Everybody does it. Sfaradim, Ashkenazim, the whole world is doing it.
Well, I mean, you're sitting fiddler on the roof, so it must be
Oh.
right.
Yeah, that's a modern
But
movie.
they have the candles are lit, and then they bring it in.
Right,
So now they're saying it afterwards.
right. That blessing is a blessing in vain. They're saying God's name in vain. Because once you light the candles, you already did the mitzvah. You don't make the bracha afterwards. But the Ashkenazim say we have this custom. One, our rabbis were not stupid. You agree with me? Our rabbis were not stupid, meaning they would not say make the blessing first. Oh, whoops, we forgot. Then you can't light the candles because you just started Shabbat. Our rabbis make it very clear that lighting candles and accepting Shabbat have nothing to do with each other. Shabbat starts when?
And the sun
goes down.
When the sun goes down. So why do we light candles before the sun goes down?
So that we don't forget.
Because you can't light them after the sun goes down. So we light it before the sun goes down.
Can't see.
Right? That's just simply what you have to do. You have to prepare. Just like you prepare your oven, you prepare your this, you prepare your lights. So some ladies decided that that's when Shabbat starts. What do I care about some ladies? That became the custom, but I don't care about a custom that's incorrect. So along comes a lady who happens to be the wife of a very famous rabbi, who wrote a commentary on the Shulchan Aruch called The Prisha and the Drisha. He wrote 2 books. A giant Ashkenazi rabbi about 400 years ago. His wife was a very big Talmidah Chachama, and he quotes her a lot in his books. Either his wife or his mother. The Rabbanit, he calls her. And he says his wife studied this matter in depth and came to the conclusion that the custom that exists in Europe is incorrect, and ladies must make the bracha before they light the candles. And she started a revolution. Ladies started going back to the original Jewish custom and made blessings before they lit the candles. About 250 years ago, there's a rabbi named the Magen Avraham. And he gets up and says, I heard what this lady had to say, but it doesn't make a difference, because we have a rule, Ein chokhmah benashim.
There's no chokhmah among the women.
There is no wisdom among women. And who cares what she says? She has no right to argue with the custom. We don't care what she has to say. So now when I teach ladies about this halakha, I sell it to them as a feminist agenda. Oh, you can make a bracha afterwards and give in to this guy who says that you have no wisdom. Or you can follow us and make a bracha first, like the lady said you should. But push comes to shove, everybody agrees that the original Jewish custom was to make the bracha first. Just that this other custom developed later.
So does that take away the 3 times of waving the energy then? Before, because there's nothing to bring in it, there's no light.
No, you would do that right after you light the candle.
So you'd say the bracha, light the candles,
And then bring it in. Exactly. That's what the Sephardic ladies do.
Okay.
That waving can be done, it doesn't have to be done before the bracha. If anything, it should be done afterwards. So now that you know this, does Shabbat start when you light the candles?
No.
No. According to halakha. What about a lady who has the custom that Shabbat starts when she lights the candles?
She may think so, but it doesn't because it's
She can say, I don't accept Shabbat when I light the candles. So, I accept Shabbat when Shabbat starts. And therefore, she could turn off all the lights in her house, or at least in the room where she's lighting candles, make the bracha, light her candles, and walk around and turn the lights back on.
Wow.
Or you could be strict, like the wife of Rav Chaim Kanievsky, or Rav Shlomo Zalman Auerbach, one of the two, big Ashkenazi rabbi, quoted in the Yalkut Yosef, in the laws for ladies. She refused to light candles when the lights were on. So she would turn off all the lights, light the candles, and then because she was Ashkenazi and had this custom, she asked her children to go and turn on the lights in the house for her. You could do that also.
You know, with all these conflicting decisions over these hundreds of years, it almost started to sound like superstition versus halakha.
Which is why here, in this specific kollel, we try to go back as far to the roots as we can. That way we go before any of these debates started coming around. We're not a fiddler on the roof kind of Judaism.
But there are some things where most people agree. It's not always like that, too. I have another, for another time, but if you light Hanukkah candles first, and the room is lit, you have to do the Shabbat candles somewhere else. Of course, you say you're not supposed to benefit from the light of Hanukkah.
So let's talk about that by Hanukkah. It's a good
Yeah.
question. By
Now,
Hanukkah.
hold on to that one.
Okay.
I don't want to use up the time tonight. But it's based on what we just studied.
So all that being said, especially in a week like this week, when we're not even sure if we should light Yom Kippur candles, a lady should only light Yom Kippur candles if she promises you that she is going to turn off the lights first. So what do you do on the second day of Chag, like this year? Rosh Hashanah is 2 days. How do you light candles on the second day?
An existing light.
Yeah, but your lights are still on from yesterday.
Yeah, so you got a problem.
Is that a problem? According to us, you will not make a bracha. Or she can put her lights on a timer. The lights go off for 10 minutes and turn back on. And in those 10 minutes, she lights her candles. Or if that's too hard to do, she can light her candles in a dark room where she needs light. And she can do that there. Who taught me this last halakha? I once gave a class here. It was Sukkot, and I said, a lady cannot make the bracha. So she either has to turn off the electricity by a timer, or she just lights candles without a bracha. So one of the ladies in the ladies section goes, Rabbi, what if she lights in a dark room? And I told her, I don't know the answer to that question. Let me look it up. I'll get back to you. Okay, mincha time. I told her that I could not sleep the whole afternoon. And I spent my whole afternoon looking at the books. And I found a book called The Be'er Moshe. The Be'er Moshe writes that you can light candles with the bracha in a dark room. And I said, you're right. So from then on, I give her credit for this halakha. She taught me a halakha. The third halakha is that if you have a dark room, you can light candles in that dark room. If you'd like to know what my wife does not make a bracha on the second day of Chag. She lights her candles in the same place and simply lights the candles. What's the problem? Why do you have to make a bracha? What would a lady do if her candlesticks were still burning from the first day by some supernatural event? Or she lit huge candles and they're still lit now. What would she do? She would put them out and light new candles?
No.
She would just let those burn into the second day of Chag. It's no different than your electric lights being on. It's like your candles are still being lit. We've refused, as Orthodox Jews, to understand anything about electricity in the way it affects certain halachot. It's not that the halakha changed. It's that simply now we have new methods of light that we have to take into consideration. And some people have decided to do this, covering their eyes shtick, like the ladies on Friday afternoon. And some have said, okay, we have to take this seriously. Chanukah, electricity doesn't work. Tell me why.
Because you're not kidding. Right.
A better reason. Why do we light candles on Chanukah? To give light? No. Why?
To commemorate.
To commemorate the miracle of Chanukah. And therefore, there that was real fire, you don't need light. There you don't need light, you need fire. Fire happens to give light. So you need something that can actually produce a fire. And by Chanukah, electricity, we would say, does not actually produce a fire.
Unless you cross the wires.
Please don't.
And then why do you use oil and not wax?
I use oil.
Yeah.
Because the miracle happened with oil. Wax is because Manischewitz decided to sell people wax skins. In different colors. It looks cute, so
Your
they
name
like
is
it.
David?
Yes.
I think if I may speak for you, what we're doing here is it's like doing research. It's like read something about a scientific fact, but how do you know the scientific fact is real? Then you go into the research behind it. Most places where you study or you learn about Judaism on a general level, they'll say, do this, do this, do this. Light the candles like this, go here, do that, put the coin in the box. But when you study like this, you realize that there are offering different ways of doing it, and we're trying to decide what's the closest thing, as the rabbi has said, to the root of it, and then take it from there and put our own practices in perspective of that, where they're coming
It's a
from.
good definition. But for someone who's new to this, I mean, anyone who would walk into this class and go, oh, what's going on here? Is this Jewish? Is this whatever? What are we doing? It gets confusing. But what we're trying to, like as I was saying, I'm not trying to give you a list of do's and don'ts. Rather, understand some of where this comes from. And if you still choose to follow fine, you can do whatever it is that you've always been doing. But at least come out a little bit more educated. The reason why I'm doing it, for example, someone who does kapar on chicken, I'm doing it because the Ramah is the very ancient custom. I happen to agree with the Ramah. I have a source for this custom in the Talmud in Chulin. It seems to be kaparot went back a long time ago, possibly to rectify a sin that we did in the times of the Talmud. I'm going to speak about it on Yom Kippur.
So can I ask you, in Shulchan
Sure.
Aruch that deals with kaparot, there's a Ramah quoted in that,
Yeah,
along with, so there's two divergent opinions.
one next to the other. Maran says you're not allowed to do it, and the Ramah says you should do it.
Okay. So it's usually not quite that, like, argumentative, it's more like a commentary on Karo,
Right.
and this one.
But
is
sometimes it gets
classic.
tough.
Yeah.
Sometimes. Not as bad, though, as the Rambam and the commentaries on him. The Ravad. You know the Ravad? The Ravad didn't like the Rambam. He felt the Rambam was a heretic. The problem was he felt that instead of burning his books, people were already learning the Rambam, he might as well write a commentary on the Rambam and prove how the Rambam is incorrect in his logic. Ironically, that has become one of the... Every edition of the Rambam they print with the Ravad inside. Because he's become the way to prove the Rambam is really right. The Ravad was a big tzaddik.
Can we get a version with
He was a big tzaddik. Some say that if he would have seen some of the Rambam's other books, he would have realized the Rambam wasn't a heretic. But he, unfortunately, you found tzaddikim who got swept up in the controversies of time and decided to take things.
Controversy is part of it.
All kinds of things. So I was showing my wife recently somewhere, hit Laws of Tshuva, the 5th chapter. I was learning with my wife. I told her, see, look at the Ravad here. The Rambam says, he asks the question, says, I don't have a good answer to tell you. Just suffice to understand this idea, understand the question, forget the answer. And the Ravad says, who does this rabbi think he is? Writing things like that. Starting questions, not giving answers. His question was better than the answer he gave, and all kinds of things like that. And it's interesting. The Ramad didn't have that kind of attitude towards Maran. So he was very respectful towards Maran, though sometimes respectfully disagreed. Other commentaries on books are very warlike, very aggressive. The Ramah is not that way. The Ramah felt that Maran was the posek of the generation, just that Ashkenazim were not represented adequately in his writings, and that's why he added this commentary to it.
So what it exactly says?
On Yom Kippur. It's not a source. It's an allusion. Allusion with an A, not an I.
Allusion on Yom
Allusion,
Kippur
not
or on
allusion.
Kapparot?
2 kaparot on Erev Yom Kippur with an animal.
What it says?
We'll get there on Yom Kippur.
Oh.
Can't take away my drasha on Yom Kippur. Okay, someone who's not well and needs to break their fast or anything like that should consult a rabbi regarding this. Yom Kippurim, we separate from our wives. We are not allowed to even touch our wives. We're going to keep the laws of Nidah for 25 hours. Unlike Tisha B'Av, where just sleeping together is the problem, the rest of the things are not. Here, because it's a biblical prohibition, so we are careful regarding all of those things.
But if your wife is past a certain age, she's not.
Doesn't make a
taking
difference.
But how
We
could it be
treat
the
her
same?
as if she was a Nida. That's the...
Does everybody hold that?
Yeah.
So you don't have physical contact in that
At all,
moment.
right. Some say, regarding makeup and those kind of things, that a lady in her first 30 days of marriage can still put makeup on, so she doesn't become ugly to her husband. She doesn't find her repulsive. The Chaye Adam says, well, today we spend the whole day at shul, we don't see our wives anyways, so you should not be lenient in this regard. Okay, it's an interesting thing. In general, Yom Kippurim, you're not spending so much time with your wife in the first place. So, not touching, avoiding those things, is not such a big deal. It's nighttime and, I don't know, the hour break that you have, which I just say to him. Washing our hands, our face, those things we don't do unless a person's dirty. And if a person's dirty, they're allowed to wash whatever they need to wash. Children, if you have children, please listen to me carefully. Children, on all the other fast days of the year, we do not teach them to fast. They don't practice, they don't do a little bit, they just don't fast. Yom Kippurim, because it's a biblical mitzvah, starting at the age of 9, we teach a child to fast a little bit. By the way, everybody who eats on Yom Kippur, at nighttime doesn't eat. Because you already had dinner before the fast, there's no reason to be eating at nighttime. So whenever we say eating on Yom Kippur, we mean the following morning and on. A child who normally eats in the morning breakfast, I don't know, at 9 o'clock, let him eat at 10 o'clock. Someone eats at 10 o'clock, let him eat at 11 o'clock. Push them a little bit. Teach them a little bit. At a certain point, you have to force your child to take a break and to eat. I know some kids come to school, they want to brag to their friends. It doesn't help to put your child in a not healthy position. He's not old enough to do that. There's a reason the Torah says 12 and 13, respectively, for boys and girls. Starting at the age of 11, though, we teach our children to fast for Yom Kippur. Like every other mitzvah at the age of chinuch, we teach a child a few years before to get ready for the fast day. Even children who eat on Yom Kippur, they don't need to eat candies and I don't know, all kinds of things. Eat food, whatever they need to eat to keep going. They don't have to eat all the fun things that they would eat on a normal day. A child, you could teach them to wear at any age, not to wear leather shoes, things like that, things that don't directly affect their health. It doesn't make a big deal if they're wearing slippers or as opposed to whatever else. There is a custom in Yom Kippur to wear white clothing. In Ashkenazi countries, men wore white kittles. Kittles are burial shrouds. People get buried in a kittel, and Ashkenazim are trying to not just look like an angel in white, but there's an extra significance of reminding yourself that one day we won't be in this world. That's the same reason why Ashkenazim wear a kittel when they get married. To remind themselves they shouldn't be so happy because there is a day of death. The Sfaradim are not so into this whole day of death thing. They are, though, into the white thing. And therefore, Sfaradim who wore robes were careful in Rosh Kippur to wear a white robe, like what I wear here in the Beit Knesset. White clothing is also okay. There's no mitzvah to wear white. If you don't have white pants, you don't have to wear white pants. You can wear black pants and a white shirt, whatever it is that you do. Ladies never had the custom of wearing a kittel, but they did have a custom of wearing white clothing. I asked, though, just one thing. Have a discussion with your wives. Wear white. It's more important to dress modestly than it is to wear white clothing. And I see some ladies wear all kinds of white shirts. It's the only white shirt they have, and it happens to not cover any part of her body. It's better she should wear black with long sleeves than white tank tops. It's a proper order of priorities. So just have that discussion with your daughters, with your wives, whoever it is that you can have the discussion with. Somebody is allowed to bathe a baby, not in hot water because it's Shabbat, but bathe them, wipe them, put oil on them, whatever they need to do. They take care of their baby. Though, if you don't have to, you don't have to. But an adult is allowed to do that. You don't have to ask somebody else to do that. Please talk to me about fasting if you are not well. Someone who is life-threatening for them to fast on Yom Kippur does not get a mitzvah for fasting on Yom Kippur. Kol Nidrei we try to do before sunset because you are not allowed to do Hatarat Nedarim on Yom Kippur itself. Unfortunately, the way the world works is by the time you make it to Kol Nidrei, it's already past sunset. Okay, the Rivash allows us to do such a thing, but it's not the best custom. Shechianu. The Chazan will say Shechianu. You should say Shechianu quietly along with the Chazan. Finish about a second before so you can say Amen to his bracha. A lady who makes Shechianu at home should not make Shechianu again when she comes to the Beit Knesset. The custom is to wear talit at the night time of Yom Kippur so that we can be white like angels. You should wear talit. If you wear it before sunset, you make a bracha. Litadev b'tzitzit. If not, you just put it on without a bracha. Meaning if you come in the night time, so you just put it on without a bracha. There are all kinds of other customs, things we say out loud, standing, sitting, all those things are not so important. Regarding bowing down, our custom is to bow down on the floor on Rosh Hashanah. If you're praying in a synagogue where they have a stone floor or a wood floor or a hard floor, you must put something down underneath your knees and your head, a towel, tissue paper, your talit, whatever it is, because we are not allowed to bow down on a stone floor outside of the temple in Jerusalem. When we had a temple in Jerusalem, you're allowed to bow down on the stone floor. Anywhere else, you cannot bow down on a stone floor. There's an argument about a carpeted floor. Is this carpeted floor a carpet on top of the floor, or is it just the floor? Some would say you would need a towel or something on top of this carpet. Some say you don't. Both are okay to do. The ladies in the ladies section, the wood part would be a problem for them. I'll announce it for them, God willing, before the fast. In general, it's a good custom to do. The Rav Avram ben Rambam says when he prayed home, you should bow down on the floor in Aleinu L'Shabech. Don't let it just be a Muslim thing. Jews should be going back to our original custom.
As Abraham ben Moshe
Yes.
said.
Rabbi Peretz makes a few notes about Motzei Yom Kippurim, Havdalah candles. We'll talk about all that on the thing, but halakha for us to know. The last thing we do in Motzei Yom Kippur is we say Birkat Levana, Kiddush Levana. Yeah. Sfaradim call it Birkat Levana. Same thing. There's an argument between the poskim whether you eat before Birkat Levana or you don't. In Baltimore, from what I remember, they do not eat before they do Birkat Levana. The logic being that you want to do a mitzvah the first thing after the holiday ends, so you run outside to Birkat Levana. The problem is
mitzvah to eat.
Yeah, but this is a bigger mitzvah. So in Baltimore, the problem is that they finish the tefillah about 45 minutes after the fast ends, and then everyone goes outside for the 25 minutes to say, because it's Motzei Yom Kippur, they say slowly and out loud, and then they dance and the whole thing. By the time you eat, it could already be the next day in the morning. So the Sfaradim are of the opinion, not only the Sfaradim, many Ashkenazim, that you must eat or at least drink before you do Kiddush Levana, because you're supposed to say Kiddush Levana when you are happy, b'simcha, and you're not happy if you're fasting, and therefore our custom here is to put out food. Many people have given me complaints, but there's a custom to go outside and do Birkat Levana. One is I don't like to extend the fast more than the fast has to go. It's not healthy for people who are not able to fast so long. It's bad enough we pulled them until now. Also, this idea of being happy is an important one. We do lose people because of it. People do run away. Okay, so that's part of life. But I'd rather have people with a little bit of food in their stomachs before they go. But Motzei Kippur, please remember to stick around for Birkat Levana. Last but not least, Motzei Kippur. I don't know what I was going to tell you. By Havdalah, Birkat Levana.
Something about do Havdalah.
We don't
Right, the candle, you're supposed to have a candle which flame has been lit before Yom Kippur. Some say that Motzei Kippur that falls out on Shabbat, you can be lenient and light a candle on its own, but we hear that because we'll be using a candle that was lit.
We don't do the
before
Samin this week.
Samin. Even when it falls out on Shabbat, we don't do with the Samin. Yeah, normally Yom Kippur we definitely don't do B'zah. I thought just maybe Shabbat. We don't. Maran says we don't. Last mitzvah.
Building the sukkah, is that just a
The midakdekim, those who are careful, start building their sukkah, Motzei Yom Kippurim. To start doing the first mitzvah they can, that's possible. Some say to even just go outside and put on the first nail. It doesn't mean, I saw somebody take a nail and just stick it into the wall. That's not building the sukkah. Rather, a nail that would be productive to the building of your sukkah. I hope I didn't have to explain that. But in case you're one of those people, just, let's stab a nail to the wall. It has to be the first step to making your sukkah. So, you don't have to, but it would be, it's nice. It's a nice mitzvah to do it. Everyone should have an easy fast, a gemar chatima tova, a ktiva chatima tova. I hope we covered most of the halachot we need for.
You're going to talk a little bit about what you should not eat on the 9th.
Foods that would make it hard for you to fast, or foods that would increase any kind of sexual drive. So you just have to know yourself. Garlic, definitely not, and other foods. I once made the mistake. We were in Israel, we were staying in a hotel. The dining room closed, but so the only place that was open to eat was an Indian restaurant.
spicy.
We ate Indian food on Erev Yom Kippur. It was the best food I had in a long time. I love Indian food. I don't know where I can find kosher Indian food, but I would love to try it again. Seattle. I have to go till Seattle to find kosher Indian food.
Toronto just opened.
It's not worth throwing it anywhere for food. Food is a yitzhara. Yeah, you have it, you have it. You don't forget about it. I see people, they drive to LA to eat. Every minute you spend in the car, it's another avera why you drove to LA to eat food. In general though. And but that's the thing like that. We don't stand up. Like if you're in a store and there's an hour line to get on a Slurpee or a donut, a Jew doesn't stand in line for an hour to wait for food. We don't. Derech Eretz, food is a need. It's not a desire. So anything that's
to make your
more
wife
than we need to
happy,
eat.
get her away from cooking once in a while.
No, you could take your wife to a restaurant, that's for sure. That's a mitzvah, see? You're doing something good. But just because I like the steak that they serve up in... Someone told me they drove to Oxnard, California for dinner and came back.
And paid $100 for the meal over there.
First off, I was there for dinner. It's not such good food. But in general, that's not the way we do things. We don't drive 3 hours there, and I don't even know how long it takes just for food. We have...
But we do if we need to go to OC Kosher and get your food.
They kosher food because you can't get it here? Absolutely. Though OC Kosher delivers to San Diego, so you can take advantage of that. B'ezrat Hashem. Any food that would be a problem on Erev Yom Kippurim, you shouldn't eat it on Erev Yom Kippurim. Just make sure it's food that's conducive for your fast. Everyone have a Gemara Chatima Tova.